Okay, so it's finally time for another progress update video, and boy has there been a lot of progress. Some of you may have seen that I've done some progress update videos via livestream though, so if you missed those and want to check out the steps in between my last normal video, which was back about 2 months ago now, then check those out. And wow, time flies. But so yeah, life's been busy, and also through hosting various giveaways and trying to enhance the knowledge hub and the Discord server and so on, and with IRL work and quality time with the fiance, it's been really hard to be efficient enough to find time for a video. But here we are. So overall, in terms of my approach, I'm running FreeUp Orbless, where I transitioned to Orb Devo mid-run at around 4 to 5k waves, and which I made a guide about a while back. And I will refer back to this at times throughout the video, and how I'm soon transitioning out of that to something known as Reverse Orb Devo, which I'll also make a video about in the near future. Shortly put though, Reverse Orb Devo refers to the strategy where you instead hoard enemies outside of your tower range as opposed to inside on your wall or tower. And you achieve this in part by having chronofield speed reduction and chrono loop, plus shockwave size and frequency to keep the enemies away. And then the black hole sucks the enemies into your orbs during your coin multipliers. So that's why it's called Reverse Orb Devo, and I'm excited about this strategy as then I can go fully 100% AFK, and it synergizes extremely well with other things going on at the moment. For example, it synergizes with Wave Accelerator and Intro Sprint, it synergizes with focusing on damage, it synergizes with module level 161, and more. As far as I see it, various pieces in the game will finally join together, and where tournament and farm focus will be more or less identical going forward, so that's really cool. And as for Reverse Orb Devo, False Hope has created a great written guide that I'm in the process of putting up on the Knowledge Hub site, and as mentioned, I will also be creating a video guide on it in the near future. But okay, on with the normal progress update. Well, actually, one more important thing we gotta cover first. I realized I haven't done a normal progress update video after the crazy incident where I received a lot of stone packs from the community. As some have seen on live stream and so on, I have been very humbled by this experience and extremely grateful. It overall was a wild period with both the JP978 and I got 5 stone packs. And while I don't want to place words in JP's mouth, I'd say that we are both normally focused on giving away stone packs to others and not really for ourselves. And the funny thing though is that we both feel kinda dirty for this sudden progress jump in stones. In part as I think we have depicted a somewhat normal progress journey in our past videos, and then for someone who may have followed our journey and compared themselves to us, they now see a massive jump that they perhaps can't keep up with. So while I'm extremely grateful, I don't want stone pack gifts to me to be something that occurs frequently. If anyone ever wants to support my work, then a super chat or becoming a YouTube member are better ways to support, as then I can use that money on upgrading features on Discord, the Knowledge Hub and on YouTube, instead of upgrading my tower. But yeah, as a result of some massive stone packs, this progress update video has a lot of jumps from my previous one. Let's get into it. And so for the workshop, I'll show my respec template on screen. And if you ever want to use this, if you're also respecing for tournaments and so on, then the template is available on the Tower Notion site. As for my attack workshop, I'm basically just keeping all at level 0. This is because my free ups are leveling these gradually for me in the run so that I don't do too much damage in the orbless phase of my run, and where spotlight missiles are now doing most of the killing. Again, I won't go too much into detail about this as I have created a guide on the topic and build. And also, I used the FreeUp Mastery to lock my bounce range. This is just to squeeze out a bit more coins in my orbless phase by having bullets more consistently hit inside the spotlight beams. And for the defense tab, I just keep things in an okay window. Unlike in my guide though, I have decided to just start my runs with 0 levels in Thorns. This was just to squeeze out a few more kills inside spotlight beams at the start of a run, instead of a handful enemies dying to Thorns or being knocked back unnecessarily. And free upgrades are anyways gradually leveling everything up here. I also keep anything landmine related to 0 simply so that they don't do too much damage at the start of a run. It doesn't really matter much, but I also just keep knockback at level 0, as then the spotlight missiles can easier kill groups of enemies at the start of a run. But of course, this also gets maxed pretty quickly, so it's not really a big deal. And so yeah, the rest are just at whatever levels that will max them easily at the end of a run. So it doesn't really matter whether I keep my health at 5,000 or 5,500 or 4,000, it doesn't really matter. And then for the utility tab, I have everything maxed nowadays because of FreeUp Orbless. And as for the enemy level skips, I just have these at level 400. I'm not going past that for a while until I can get my enemy level skip enhancements to 1.20, but which is just 1.17 at the moment. In terms of pure math efficiency, it's better to just wait until I can get those enhancements to 120. But of course, it wouldn't hurt to put some handful of levels in normal ELS as well and make them 405 or whatever. And the reason I'm doing both enemy attack level skips and health level skips is because I do Orbless to Orb Devo. In the future, there will be a sole focus on enemy health level skips. And so this is roughly what my workshop has been looking at for the last month and a half. However, in the near future, I'm transitioning to Reverse Orb Devo, where the workshop will look quite different again. But we'll get more into that later. But basically it means that my workshop stats will shift quite considerably, and where I will no longer need to start with my attack workshop at level 0 and so forth. Beyond that, after every respec after tournaments, I try to put in a little bit more each time into free upgrades, enhancements, coin enhancements, and cell enhancements. In terms of milestones, I've had a fair bit of progress, including unlocker tier 18, and overall been able to get a fair amount of gems and stones. Once I get into damage masteries, I look forward to doing another push into some of the remaining milestones that are left. It's not really worth it until then though for me to push it. Okay, so now on to ultimate weapons, and in terms of the ultimate weapons, I had first focused on largely maxing Chronofield, and then I was venturing into what was meant to be a long journey of saving up enough stones to unlock the final 2 ultimate weapons of Smart Missiles and Poison Swamp. But as a result of eventually being gifted 5 freaking stone packs last month, which is insane, I was able to essentially rush through to Golden Tower Plus very quickly. I am now stopping at Golden Combo level 6. Of course, I would have loved to continue developing it, but there are also so many other things that I want to spend stones on. But okay, so let me first cover the Smart Missiles that I unlocked. Basically, once I got Smart Missiles, I immediately labbed Missiles Amplifier and Radius, and that's because these are great for Orbless, the so-called Spotlight Orbless, where you kill primarily with Spotlight Missiles at the beginning of your run instead of with bullets. There's a few reasons for this, and it only really becomes effective once you have the Missiles Amp Lab. First and foremost, Spotlight Missiles only shoot inside the Spotlight beams, which helps ensure that you kill most enemies inside your Spotlight beam and all the coin multipliers. In comparison, in case you didn't know, Multi-Shot, Bounce Shot, and Rapid Fire does not respect target priority, so even if you have Spotlight as your first target in your target priority, most bullets are not going to follow that. And what this also helps doing is that it gives you a bit more flexibility of what you want to start your attack workshop levels at with the FreeUp Orbless strategy. For example, in my case, before Spotlight Missiles, I would have perhaps my damage workshop at about 500 or so, but now I can just leave it at 0 as Spotlight Missiles are doing the work at the beginning. It also just meant that I can just start my runs with 0 knockback for greater cluster for Spotlight Missiles and not relying on knockback from the beginning, but which of course, as mentioned earlier, will anyways be maxed later in the run. As for any further Smart Missiles development though, I'm not going to touch it for a long time. There are so many other things that I will spend stones on first, and so it will be largely neglected for a long time. And the final ultimate weapon I got will also have a higher priority, the Poison Swamp. So Poison Swamp has also been unlocked but not developed at all with stones, and it will be a long while until I feel like I have spare stones to do so. But it will be prioritized ahead of Smart Missiles. Back in the day, it used to be the other way around, but with the changes to Poison Swamp and how various things in the game, be it project funding, lower death wave and multiverse nexus cooldown, and other such things have made Galaxy Compressor more obsolete towards the end game and ultimately made Smart Missiles relatively weaker, so Poison Swamp will be prioritized ahead of Smart Missiles. Eventually. It's still a long time until I get there. I did however sneak in some fairly quick labs for Poison Swamp just to get a bit of stun chance and stun duration, and I will get back to some of these in the future once I feel like I have available lab slots for it. I also don't want to go too hard into Poison Swamp Radius just yet, just to get into Reverse Orb Devo before doing so I can test and confirm where I want my radius to be. And that's because Poison Swamp can potentially be a bit of a foot gun for some farming strategies, as you can't currently in the game adjust your radius with a slider like you can for range and shockwave size and so forth. We'll see what happens here though. Obviously having some decent radius on it will be nice for tournaments, so we'll see where I land on it. And then naturally, as mentioned, as a result of getting Poison Swamp, which was my final ultimate weapon, I could then finally start developing my Golden Tower Plus, and this has been my focus lately. And I'm now stopping at level 6 because it's time to get some masteries and prepare for my soon-to-be Reverse Orb Devo strategy. However, the last changes to my ultimate weapons have been that I've also reduced my MVN sync by taking Death Wave to 80 seconds. I would not advise this to others at this stage of the game unless they're both doing a sync strategy and want to get a golden tower duration that is longer than their sync time. If those two things don't apply, I would not get Death Wave cooldown reduction for quite some time longer, as Death Wave at 100 seconds can be totally viable stopping point for a long time for many. However, for me, it made sense to make it 80 seconds, and here's my reasoning. Basically, as I've explained through live videos and in my FreeUp Orbless guide, if you run a sync or hoarding strategy with Golden Tower Plus, then you want to get your Golden Tower duration longer than your MVN sync time. This is because Golden Combo only counts enemies that spawn after it activates, and so if your Golden Tower duration is shorter than your sync time, it means that your hoarded enemies will never count towards the Golden Combo. But if your Golden Tower duration is 1 second longer than your sync time, it will then shift the Golden Tower Plus activation with 1 second compared to the sync time for every cycle. So in my case of 58 second sync time and 59 second Golden Tower duration, it means that I will only have the issue of not counting the hoarded stack every 58 cycle of my other coin multipliers. Of course, it doesn't really hurt to get your Golden Tower duration even longer, as GT Plus greatly benefits from even longer durations, but it's a great stopping point for me to focus on other stuff. And so yeah, that's really it for the massive progress in terms of stone development since the last update video. I also have a very clear path ahead of me in terms of stone spending, which is unlocking Chrono Loop and getting into level 4, starting with Masteries, which we'll get into next, and at some point to add some Spotlight Angle. And so here you can see all the ultimate weapon stats. Then on to cards. I still have 17 card slots. This will, however, have to change in the near future. I need to get some more card slots for the upcoming Masteries, but I haven't been willing to get any yet because I've been needing some crucial modules and so on, so I could not justify spending gems elsewhere at all. And at some point, I may even want to get back to always having some gems as backup, but I feel like I'm not ready for that just yet. And as you can see, I currently have 3000 gems and I'm currently saving up for the 4500 unlock. As for the 2 Masteries that I currently have, I took the Recovery Package Chance Mastery from level 3 to level 4 quite a while ago, and I've kept it at that. It's been great, and it is what has helped me essentially reach level 161 in my modules now. For my free upgrade card, I took it from level 1 to level 2 just so I could tweak my Orbless by trying to lock Bounce Shot or Bounce Shot range. I'm not planning to level that anymore for a long time though. And so, I haven't gotten any new masteries since my last progress update video, but now we're finally reaching the territory of going hard into several of these. The next mastery will be Wave Accelerator, then I'm getting Intro Sprint, and then I'm likely getting the damage related masteries of Damage Mastery, Demon Mode Mastery, and Super Tower Mastery. My reasoning for this is quite clear. I know that getting Damage Masteries first would give me some immediate boost in tournaments. However, I've decided to first focus on getting my econ in a proper window so that I then can go really hard and deep into the Damage Masteries when I'm ready for it. If you're the type of person who rather wants to see the short-term benefits of going Damage Masteries first, I can totally get that, and you'd also earn some more stones along the way, likely as a result. But to me it feels like the more right long-term decision to be a bit patient and get the econ sorted first, and then I can hopefully more or less permalab the damage related masteries thereafter. Another reason is that the farming strategy that I want to transition to largely requires Wave Accelerator and Intro Sprint to be viable. And that's basically because I want to be moving from tier 11 to tier 13 and 14 for farming, and doing shorter runs as Reverse Orb Devo. And these two masteries both synergize well together, as well as very well together with my strategies and goals. And once Reverse Orb Devo is set up, including Chrono Loop, then the damage masteries will also greatly synergize with Reverse Orb Devo too. And so, I'm overall excited about this period because now all the various pieces in the game are really coming together for me. Now farming and tournaments will essentially go in the same direction, and as I'm also just reaching level 161 in modules, I can get the final substats I also need to make this happen. The only thing I haven't decided yet is the order of how I will get Chrono Loop and the various damage related masteries. I'll have to ponder and think about that ahead. For example, if my econ is really good when I'm ready for this, then the Super Tower Mastery will gain some higher priority, and that's simply because you want it at a high level to make it consistent. And vice versa, if I feel like my econ can't support labbing the Super Tower Mastery a lot, then it will have less priority compared to Demon Mode and Damage Mastery. So yeah, there will be some future decision making around that and pondering, but basically at least, Wave Accelerator next, then Intro Sprint, then some combination of damage related masteries and Chrono Loop. And just so it's mentioned, I'm not considering masteries such as cash mastery or enemy balance or any such at this point. Those are nice, and if I had a lot more stones available, they would be higher on the radar. But I gotta prioritize my econ and my farming strategy and my tournaments ahead of some nice to have extra cells, reroll shards and so forth. And so I'm simply not considering anything else than Wave Accelerator, Intro Sprint, Damage, Demon Mode, and Super Tower at this point. For my perks, nothing has really changed as I do FreeUp Orbless to Orb Devo, and so I can largely go a somewhat hybrid path but with a focus towards EHP. Most of the time I just rely on auto-pick perks, but if I'm active then I just manually ensure that the knockback perk is taken at the very end when I transition to Orb Devo. Simply so that the knockback won't knock enemies into the orbs when I make the transition, but also ensuring that Orbless can juggle as long as I want it to. And then, because I'm transitioning to shorter runs, I also want perk band 7. It is a long lab, but I feel like I could justify it by ensuring that I get more consistently all the desired perks as early as possible, because my runs will be dramatically shorter in the near future, likely in the 4 to 5k wave range. And here you can see my current bands. As for auto perks, I feel like I'm in a good spot there, so I don't need to develop those anymore. Importantly though, once I go Reverse Orb Devo, then I'm no longer EHP, as I will then aspire to not really have any enemies hitting me anymore. There will be some big turnaround for my perk choices and my bands, and gradually about killing bosses and raids more effectively. We're not there just yet, but soon. Then on to labs. First, let's just revisit what I said would be my goals in the previous update video. In it, while I mentioned some specific labs, it was largely going to be in the following broad strokes of the 5 lab slots. So attack speed, shadow labs, econ spot, a damage lab spot, and a flex related spot. Now let's see how I've done and then revisit these goals. In terms of damage and tournament related labs, I've done the scatter amp to level 7, I've increased my damage from 48 to 59, a critical factor from 55 to 61. I've also increased my amplify bot duration from 1 to 11. This is just so that I can micro my amplify bot more effectively in tournaments. And similarly, I've reduced my amplify bot cooldown from 13 to 17, simply as I don't want to use medals for cooldowns just yet, and just to make it a bit easier to micro. And then I've gotten my range from 32 to 40. This is just because that range of 40 is really nice in some tournaments for various battle conditions. And in terms of farming related labs, I've gotten my golden bot cooldown from 15 to 17, and the duration from 8 to 15. And I've gotten my golden tower bonus from 15 to 21, and my coins per kill from 60 to 84. And then for other labs, starting with smart missiles, I've taken the missile amplifier from level 0 to 21. I will eventually get it higher, but it's very slow towards the end, and I feel like I can lab some other things right now. And it's the same with missile radius, which I've taken to level 17, and just unlocking missile explosion. I did also lab missile barrage and the despawn timer, but I just did it for fun to have 5 labs for a few hours. And so my missiles despawn time is level 5. And then got the stun time from 0 to 16. I've taken the radius up to level 8 and the stun chance up to 19. As mentioned, we'll see exactly where I want to stop in terms of the swamp radius later on. And then some other labs. I did get the unmerged module lab. This is because I have a handful of Epic Plus modules that I eventually want to unmerge, as these were accidentally leveled up beyond Epic by accident in the auto merge. But I haven't had the heart yet to waste the gems to do so. And then I've gotten the super tower bonus from 7 to 9. I'm not going heavy into this just yet, but it's just eventually for the mastery. And as mentioned, I've gotten the recovery package chance to level 4 and the free up mastery to level 2. And I've taken my lab speed from 68 to 78, and which has a perma slot in my labs at the moment. So going back at my original goals, first off the attack speed and flex. Due to diminishing returns, I decided to not do any more attack speed for a while. And then once we also got a better understanding of the issues with attack speed beyond 45 or so, at 5x speed, I didn't want to waste time going deeper into attack speed. Basically, that the higher attack speed is not really working at 5x speed at the moment, though the developers are currently working on a fix for this. I did get my Shadow Lab to level 3, but then I didn't feel like I could justify it for some time. First of all, my recovery package chance was anyways powerful, although of course they work well together. And secondly, I had originally planned and hoped to rush the 2 last levels, or at the least the final level with gems, but because of my unfortunate module situation and because there has been a need to hoard up gems before featured banners and so forth, I didn't have any gems to waste. And thirdly, because I was anyways getting close to level 161 in my modules, it would make sense to shatter all my saved up modules anyways now and not wait for level 4 or 5 in the Shadow Shard lab. At some point though, I will get back to this. The econ goal, this I basically accomplished and did so with both coins per kill and golden bot and golden tower bonus. And in terms of damage lab, this I achieved somewhat. It hasn't always been direct damage related, but at least whether it be smart missiles, poison swamp, amp bot, and some damage and crit factor levels. And the flex bot has not really been that flexible, as it's mostly where I've just kept my lab speed. The reality though is that I don't stick religiously to like a dedicated spot, but it's an easy way to overall plan and communicate it. But rather, over the course of my gameplay, I may have a week where I do several econ labs or several damage labs and so on. And overall, in terms of future focus ahead, it will be one econ spot, potentially also with econ masteries. It will be one lab spot where I potentially also swap it out temporarily for masteries. It will be a damage and flex spot for all types of damage, including crit factor, damage lab, damage mastery, super tower bonus, demon mode recharge, amp bot duration, and so forth for the 3rd and 4th slot. I will finish the band perk 7, and then that also will become a flex spot. I'll just scroll through my labs, and so you can pause this if you want to. Then in terms of tournaments, I've been prepared for quite some time to drop in rank as a result of focusing on reaching Golden Tower Plus and improving my econ. But it has been interesting to see how I have continued to very incrementally increase my bracket ranking. However, I took notice of that many that were in Legends were all improving within their bracket, but not really their total tournament ranking across all players, which made me think of whether the pool of Legend players were increasing. And this has been confirmed by LTK, who has done some great analysis of the Legend tournament placements and confirmed that there were basically 10% more Legend brackets last month than the month before it. And on that note, LTK has created several cool graphics, including the aforementioned one, which you can also find on the Tower Knowledge Hub website. And he's also in the process of starting creating YouTube videos, so be sure to keep an eye out for him. And I guess on that note, there are a lot of Tower YouTubers now, which is really cool. And so a while ago, I started creating a list on the Knowledge Hub of Tower content creators, and I will continue to update that in the future. And also, there is a Promote Yourself channel on the JPlays Discord server, if you want to share your own channel or videos or anything in between. And for some, including Ryan, All Clouded, and JP978, a person can opt in for notifications on the Discord server of when these individuals are going live or have posted a new video. I set that up to those OG YouTubers when they join the start of the JPlays Discord server. However, in the future I hope to have similar setup for all Tower content creators, but it will cost a fair bit of money to upgrade the Discord bot to do so it will have to be done in the future when that doesn't hurt my wallet as much. Enough about that. So tournaments. I've not really done that much to improve, and I've lacked project funding and Dimension Core this whole time, which of course makes the situation difficult. However, soon I do expect to see my rank increase quite a bit once I get my damage masteries and so forth. And with the keys, I was planning to next get the 2nd gem discount for respect. However, I stupidly fat-fingered and accidentally picked reroll daily missions, which is so painful as it's so useless and irrelevant for me. But beyond that, this is how the rest of my vault currently looks like. I've gotten the various discounts basically for reroll and enhancements, one gem discount for respec, which I was meant to have one more of, and that's about it. And then for events, I've continued to go a bit back and forth. Some of you may recall how I used to have an amplify bot that I used for microing in tournaments a while ago. But then, as I shifted from a pure Orb Devo strategy to a FreeUp Orbless, I wanted to shift those Amplify Bot medals back into Golden Bot to boost the Golden Bot duration, and to also cater to the reduced MVN sync time as well. And this is because Golden Bot duration matters a lot less for pure Orb Devo than it does when also doing Orbless. And so that's why I justified moving the medals into Golden Bot, and of course to also be able to change my Golden Bot cooldown in one go instead of having it desynced while trying to lab their desired cooldown for sync. And so it was only very recently that I then got back to unlocking Amplify Bot, and my rationale now is just to continue to develop Amplify Bot largely focusing on range, bonus, and some duration in the time ahead, and maybe some more amp duration via lab. And then at some point in the distant future, which could be very long, I will perhaps do a bot respec once I can rush 3 levels in Golden Bot cooldown lab. That way I could free up some medals that could then either go in Golden Bot duration or into the amp bot itself. But of course, I don't have gems to waste right now for any lab rushing, and who knows what the future has in store. And in terms of event relics, it's not much to say beyond that I've gotten them all so far, but we'll see if I'll continue to do that. As for the guild event, as most of you, it's easy to max out the chest weekly, and so it's rather a matter of priority of when you want to get something. Again, it was the perfect timing where I could buy some shards here now that I'm close to level 161. But before that, I basically focused on picking the coin bonuses from the themes. And what was so funny was how I decided to gamble and get one set of gems from guild tokens ahead of the last tournament, just in hope of getting the final dimension core I've been waiting for. And I freaking got it. That was awesome. And as for the Guardian, I got all my bits sunk into fetch, and I'd saved up all my bits from the first guild event. So it was nice to see that paying off. But then they of course also introduced the Guardian respec. But yeah, all into fetch just for the added medals, gems, modules and shards. It will be interesting though to see what Guardian shows up the next event, to see if it then becomes relevant to respec or not. We will see. And oh, several people in the community has created sheets that depict the most efficient fetch upgrade path, and I'll include a link to that in the video description. And in terms of relics, this is the bonus that I'm currently looking at. And this is how my coin multiplier looks at tier 11. Okay, then we're on to modules. And in my last update video, my module levels were around level 144, and they are now at 160 range. And it feels like so long time ago, but I realized that I didn't have Galaxy Compressor as Ancestral in my last official progress update video, though of course it's been quite a few videos for those who have followed my live stream videos. But yeah, this just shows how long time it's been since an official video. And so yeah, we finally got that last Galaxy Compressor. But it was funny that it finally arrived when its impact was massively diminishing because I was not really needing it anymore for farming when using Black Hole Digester and having low Multiverse Nexus sync time, and less relevant for tournaments when having permanent chronofield. I was also missing 3 dimension cores back then and eventually got 2, and it all seemed like it was going to be a repeat of when I was missing the final Galaxy Compressor for almost a half a year or so. I got 2 and then it went quiet. But 2 days ago I pulled the last copy, and so now it's finally Ancestral, and I look forward to seeing its impact in tournaments ahead. And for the previous featured banner, I wanted to get the Sharp Fortitude to boost my Orb Devo phase, and so I had gems saved up for that and eventually got it and have used it since for farming. I still have a major problem with project funding though. Last time around I only had 1 copy of it, and I'm glad to report that I now have 4. Which is at least a pretty solid improvement, but I really wanted to get it to Ancestral. And here I completely underestimated my luck and did something very stupid that you absolutely should not do. I had shattered all my shards as I was rushing to level 161, and I didn't think there was going to be a chance at all to get my project funding to Mythic. But now I suddenly have 4 copies but no fodder available, which is just so stupid. So please don't do like me and make sure to always have fodder ready for whatever modules you don't have as Mythic or higher yet. Ultimately, I'll show on screen how my overall situation looks like for my modules, which is just such a massive improvement from last time around. And as for rerolling, things have gone pretty well. I got the 5th Astral Deliverance substat sorted, where I had Critical Chance Legendary to Ancestral Critical Chance, which is nice. However, I have tended to use my Havoc Bringer for my farming as it's just more consistent for Orbless damage, and it matters less about strength of this module as I run Orb Devo at the end of the run. And I've been able to roll a decent Sharp Fortitude, but I just can't justify rolling for the 5th substat just yet. However, as a content creator, I want to toy around with some different A/B testing when I can, although it pains me that it sometimes means that I'm not as efficient as I otherwise could have been. So I've done some testing which I wouldn't recommend anyone to necessarily test themselves, as it can be quite a lot of wasted reroll shards. So hopefully me pointing out these learnings is of some value and save you from testing it yourself. So firstly, I used to have Golden Tower bonus on my MVN, but I wanted to compare it with Golden Tower duration. And for someone running a sync strategy, this was a massive coin drop, which is not necessarily unsurprising, especially before getting Golden Tower plus more develop, which I had at level 4 or so at the time of testing. And that the duration still wasn't anyways longer than the MVN sync time. The reason why I was willing to do so though is that I knew that eventually Golden Tower duration substat would become very strong as I got my MVN sync time lower and as I got my GT Plus stronger. And so it was something I was willing to experiment with. But just take note of this, I guess, for yourself. And of course, ideally you don't necessarily swap Golden Tower bonus for Golden Tower duration at all, but rather add whichever you don't have when you gain a new substat slot. But this is also where my approach will differ some compared to others, as I instead plan to get chronofill speed reduction on my Multiverse Nexus, instead of Golden Tower bonus, which sounds pretty wild, but it's all part of the desired Reverse Orb Devo strategy. I will however roll for both Golden Tower bonus and chronofill speed reduction, and take whichever shows up first. But in the long run, I want the speed reduction there more to better carry out my future strategy. The second unique form of reroll testing that I did was that I know I'm transitioning away from EHP to a build that can basically be maxed from the get-go of a run, and where one of the goals is that enemies will no longer touch my wall or tower. And so, as a result, I knew that I wanted to get away from enemy attack level skips very soon. It is of course super impactful for Orb Devo, and I am still doing that at the end of my runs for probably a few more weeks, but I wanted to test the impact of taking it out and replacing it with free upgrade chance, which should lead to shorter runs but increased coins. Again, since it all fits with my future strategy, I was willing to give this a go for testing purposes. I would not recommend anyone doing so though, and rather instead wait until your build is actually ready. But I also wanted shorter runs overall so that I could more easily do tournaments or live streaming whenever I want to do so, instead of having to either move my live streaming time slots or having to end my runs prematurely. Overall, this was a nice small boost to econ, but of course a massive hit to my cells as my run length basically decreased from about 9.5k waves to about 7.5k waves. And as for the substat that I then want on my BHD for the 6th slot is then enemy health level skips, because we are soon going to be all about damage. And so looking ahead for my modules, I am hoping for 4 more project funding copies. I will be rolling my MVN for the 6 substats where I hopefully get chronofill speed reduction and hopefully get enemy health level skips on my BHD. I will also be rolling the stats for Dimension Core where I hope to get chronofill speed reduction, chain lightning chance and quantity, spotlight bonus and angle, and then maybe chronofill duration or ILM quantity or CL damage as the 6th for now. And then for armors, there will be a bit trial and testing regarding those, such as shockwave frequency on my NMP, but maybe also space displacer if I see it as relevant. And then eventually to just get something okay for my astral deliverance and death penalty, though I'm not sure what I'm hoping for those just yet. And so yeah, a lot of changes and tweaks ahead with the level 161 modules obviously. But as modules and rerolling is RNG, I'm not going to be too stuck on plans if the results steer me in another direction. And thankfully, I don't need to pray for any gods anymore for Galaxy Compressor or Dimension Core. And it will be painful that my project funding will be stuck at level 160 for a while. I am at least glad that I now have it as Mythic, in theory, once I get the fodder. And lastly, in terms of my gameplay, not much has changed since my latest progress video via live stream and my guide on FreeUp Orbless. I used to run to about 9.5k waves in tier 11 with sharp fortitude, but now they're quite a bit shorter because I removed the enemy attack level skips. I earn almost 2 quadrillion a day and about 85 trillion on average per hour. And my peak coins per minute is around 2.7 trillion or so. I do expect that it has probably reached 3 trillion at some point while I've not been watching, though with some lucky wave skips and so forth. And my lifetime coins is now 49 quadrillion. And now I only earn about 480k or so rerolls a day due to the shorter runs, but this will increase in the near future. As for the runs, I've also changed my target priority a fair bit. I've put elites on top just to kill these effectively in Golden Tower Plus, and then I've put both Protector and Boss, because Protector targeting is bugged and linked with the Boss targeting, just to try to help with killing Protectors, but it's not really doing that much. And then the 4th I have in Spotlight, as bullets are not doing that much of killing anymore, as I now do Spotlight Missiles Orbless and not really Bullet Orbless anymore. I don't need to have in Spotlight as a high target anymore. And then I have Closest as the 5th target priority. But importantly, while I've really enjoyed the stage of FreeUp Orbless and how great it has been for coin gains and overall progress, the reality is that I'm so excited to move away from it. Before FreeUp Orbless, I was running pure Orb Devo where I basically just got enemy level skips and then I could just send it for the rest of the run without any microing whatsoever. And my issue with FreeUp Orbless is that although it is extremely little microing needed for the run, and I can auto pick perks and so forth, it is still too much microing for me with this build. And more specifically, the main issue is that I need to be online roughly at the time of when I need to transition from Orbless to Orb Devo. Or for some, this would be more like a transition to Blender or turning on more damage to extend your Orbless. And the issue is that I'm too busy in my life to always be available when it is the optimal time to make the transition in run, or I may be asleep or other things. And so, a key part of my strong desire to get ready for Reverse Orb Devo is that I can then truly go AFK. Because you're hoarding enemies outside of your tower range, it means that you can basically have all damage on from the get-go, and there is no transition of any kind needed. So I can even keep things on, such as Chain Lightning, from the get-go. And so not only will this become a massive quality of life improvement, but that in and of itself will lead to increased coins, as I won't have inefficiencies of not transitioning at the right time. And so yeah, that's it in terms of overall update. I think the next video will focus on Reverse Orb Devo, and thereafter we'll start doing some shorter guide type of videos focusing on a smaller topic at a time. Thanks for watching and take care. And oh, very lastly, a very gracious person has contacted me saying that he wants to support a giveaway with a stone pack. So if you have any ideas for a future giveaway, do share. We should get that started soon. Okay, that's all. Thank you and bye.